We're starting in the bee pen, which is coming on really well. You can't fully see, but all along here there's little shoots coming, which are all dwarf meadow plants which are coming. So they're all sort of coming bit by bit, and I've put some busy lizzies and some succulents as well, just to give a real nice range in here, because it's all going to be low flowering. The bees, without going into too much detail, rather than risking, as we said, unfortunately they didn't make winter, rather than risking any disease spreading or anything like that, because there's always chance of nosema and varroa and things like that, what I'm going to do is basically scorch all the inside of the wooden things, but the frames I'll take off the wax because that can be used and cleaned, but the rest of it I'm just going to burn. And for burning it, I'm going to dig a little hole, burn it in there. That way there's no chance of any disease spreading. It's fixed, it's gone. It's the best way of sort of like underlining that chapter. Right, so a bit of a mishmash. I'll tell you some of the plans we're doing, some of the things which is happening. It's coming on really well, as you know. Summer's here, which is wonderful. So I just wanted to mention this tree, which is super clever. Apparently you get all sorts of these sort of things now, where they're basically, can't remember the name, they're basically stuck bits on. So this is actually an apple tree with 3 trees. So it's got a gala, a green sleeves and a red Windsor, and I've labelled it again with with an old roof tile, because I'll just forget what's what. Yeah, so they're stuck on grafted, so it's called grafted or spliced basically. So apparently it's not even difficult to do, but maybe another day I'll try doing it. Okay, so let's go out the bee pen, and I made this because this area here it's quite tricky with so there's a lot of just mess still, and I'd laid those these things down. I'd laid these down, which we've got spare from the old drive, but they kept flicking up and becoming a trip hazard, and they weren't very practical. And I thought about maybe should we slab this, but I don't really like slabs if I can help it, because they're not very good for drainage and all that sort of things. And then I thought, well, I've got the drive is like this. So what I've done here is made this raised bed. So this did 2 things. One, it isn't too expensive to make. So all I did was the wooden frame, which I've run out of now. I've run out of wood, which I've used it all. It's been very good, but I've really liked having it all on standby. Anyway, so all it is a frame around it. And then what was even better is I made the ponds, some of the ponds, still making the ponds, but the soil is poor from that. It's really like rotten soil. When I say rotten, it's just broken up hardcore. It just doesn't, it's just really poor quality. I've got rid of some of the skip. I've got rid of some on what I'm going to make into like a car turning space, but getting rid of it was difficult. However, actually for this, it worked out great. So what I've done, I filled most of it with that, and then I put these gravel boards down. Tried to get it as level as possible, but you know, you've got a lot of cushion with it. And then covered it in gravel. Obviously I've got loads of gravel, and here we are. I liked it so much that I've decided to make another one. So this is the bit before it's done, I suppose. So here's your frame. So what I'm going to do, I'll put a few rocks under here like this, just to sort of support it a bit, because I want it nice and level. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't forget, you know, wildlife isn't perfect, so it doesn't matter if it's a bit off. So I've got that in place. Here's one of the ponds. It was nearly finished, but it was leaking, and what had happened is, so I've put the cardboard in the bottom of it, but one bit wasn't covered, and a stick had managed to penetrate the liner. So it's okay, it's worked out okay, and actually that gave me another idea, because originally it was going to flow around here, but it was leaking, so I had to make it smaller, but I still want a pond to flow around here. So I had the idea, because again, I like to make the most of all the water we can use, and this side of this building, obviously it's a big sort of black box, it's not very pretty at all, so it's like, how can we soften it? And obviously we love the wood and the wires, so let's do some more of that. So all I've done, it's substantial timber. In some ways it seems a bit of a waste because it's such big substantial timber. However, I think it looks smart and it's strong and it'll be there, you know, for a long time. So screwed that to the wall. I've put all my my loops in. got my wires, and using the turnbuckles, I've ran out. I need to get 6 more. They have gone up a bit in price at the moment. I think it's just because, well, everything's going up in price, but I think also with summer, so people will be buying them more and using them more. So that's going to be a trellis, and what's good about that trellis is it does get quite a bit of sun, and with the black background, I'm thinking that's going to radiate a lot of heat. So actually, I'm thinking here, it might be really worth trying to grow something which, I don't know, maybe something like, I don't know, almonds, something like that, even dates, something which really likes the sun. Probably a grapevine. I like a grapevine. And that'll be really good because it'll radiate the heat, so it'll get really warm. So I'm planning to do that. And again, that'll just soften all that edge, which will be great. Now this, I'm particularly pleased with this plan, which I'm going to crack on with. So basically, gutter onto the floor, yep. Now currently, it just drains on the floor, and there's too much water at the moment. You know, when it rains on the roof, even though it's not a big roof, it pours off too much water. So what I'm going to do is gutter down, oops, onto the floor. But then it reaches the floor. We'll have a right angle pipe into here, which will go into there. Then it'll run along this pipe. Now it's not a pretty pipe, however, this is actually the first flower bed we've got we can plant up well. So eventually the pipe will be covered just with plants. Now what I'm going to do with that, it's called a French drain, and all I'm going to do is every so often drill little holes in it. So what that will do is it will flow along the flower bed and it'll water the flower bed. Great. So that's one step where the water's not being wasted. It will then come to here. I'm going to have to sort of get it so it goes under here. Maybe might have to cut a hole out here. I'm not sure. We'll see when it comes. Flow along here, and then it's going to go into this pond. So hopefully this pond will get topped up by that. So some of the water's been dissipated over the soil. Then it's going into this pond. And then, just because there's a natural slope, which is, it's always been a pain, but it's actually working out to our favour now, I'm then going to have another pond here. The path over there, as we've already seen, this soil's going to go all in that path, so none of that's wasted, which is good. So all of this sort of like, not very nice. I mean, you can see, it's just sort of like, I mean, that's a rock. It's just, I don't know, it's just not very good. Anyway, so bend it round here, which I think will be a really cool shaped feature as well, make it kind of interesting, make this zone a bit more interesting. So, and all that soil taken out can go in the path. But then, when that pond fills up, I'll make sure the lowest bit is here, so it'll then flow into the next pond. And if that overflows, it'll just dissipate. But I might even definitely going to do one here, maybe even a third, and fill the third one with soil and make that like a proper pure bog garden, so just reeds and things like that. So we'll have what will look like one pond, but will all be very different sort of zones, and all of that water will be recycled. So I'll give 2 seconds just to give you some perspective of what this soil's like. So that was my pickaxe. You know, I broke it breaking up the soil. That's no mean feat, that. So that's to give you an idea of the sort of like rocks and rubble which is still in here. But we're gonna work it to our advantage. I've got some plants that have arrived for the pond. I don't know if they're gonna all stay where they are. However, I know they can't stay not in a pond because they'll dry out. So these are all wildlife. It's supposed to be wildlife positive plants. So we've got some Calthoploris, I don't know what that is. Alisma, I don't know the names, I'm afraid. However, we generally just get plants which will be good for the wildlife. So I'm going to put all these in the pond for now, just to kind of, so they don't dry out. So the more plants we've got, and what it'll do, it'll shade the water. So that should reduce evaporation. So that's one positive. But also, the big thing that we've got, because they're not particularly big ponds, and obviously we haven't got flowing water, so there's always a danger of them stagnating. And the way to stop that is making sure they're oxygenated. Now, I'm still on very good terms with my old neighbour, with the old people who bought my old house, and there's loads of oxygenating plants in there. So they're going to give me some, which is very nice. But these are just, they just float. They've got a bit of lead on them, so they sink. And I'm just going to put these in the pond, and these are all just really good oxygenators. Put them in these ones too, and hopefully they'll all grow. We'll get lots of little beasties and stuff in here, and it'll be a great little ecosystem. I made sure all the ponds are just done so they're all very wildlife friendly. You know, there's nothing can really fall in and drown. I mean, particularly hedgehogs, they're very vulnerable to getting a drink and drowning. So things like bees, they can drown potentially. Now this is where the owl came. So within 2 days of making this pond, I think it was, might have even been a day. Anyway, very quick. We had an owl. I'm guessing tawny owl, and that's generally the rule of thumb. It's a tawny owl. But yeah, so the fact is, we're already getting creatures coming. Ponds, essential for a wildlife garden. They really, really are good for a wildlife garden. Even it doesn't have to be a big one. I mean, I've got 3 here, but they're all different sizes. This is going to be my main feature one, I suppose. But the other 2 are very small. But there's somewhere where animals can drink, birds can bath. Perfect. That's what you want. So yeah, it's all happening. I mean, they say build it and they will come, and it appears to be working. So yeah, please comment, like, subscribe. Hope you're enjoying it. It's all going really well. I'm enjoying it. It's just really nice to be planting stuff now, which is what you want, because this is the way where you plant it and do nothing and it gets better. Everything else you've still got to graft, but now we're doing nothing and it's all growing and getting better. Right, yeah, please comment, like, subscribe. I'm going to crack on with this, and hopefully the finished article will be done next time you see me. Cheers.